Hi, Keith Carmona here again with another video segment on creative writing or writing for comics. And today, this segment's going to deal with creating characters. And characters, as you know, drive any story, whether it's in a novel, short story, a comic book. Characters are the most important element to storytelling. And characters in comic books are no different than any other character you would read in any other medium. Again, they are the kind of the reason why we pick up the comic books and we read their stories and go through their struggles in the world. One of the most important things about characters is the crises and their desires that they have, whether it's a crisis internally with their family or friends, or their desire for somebody else, or their desire for revenge, whatever it may be. These are the qualities that are essential to character that make the story interesting. And these characters, obviously, because we're people and we have our own crises and desires in our own lives. We want to see those things played out with characters in comics as well. Not every character, of course, has to have a super ability. They sometimes go through their own internal struggles and stuff, and those of you who have read comics for some time know that these stories, the ones that are lasting, are the ones that seem to drive home some issue that's close to us, some idea that may be happening around us. So when we're talking about human qualities or characteristics, that doesn't mean every character needs to appear human, but they go through some of the same struggles that we do. Experience some of the same desires that we do, whether it's love or anger. They could be an alien from another planet on Earth, trying to understand Earthlings, trying to pick up a language, trying to understand behaviors, cultures, things like that. But these are qualities that every human faces also when experiencing a new situation, right? It may seem familiar if they're in the United States experiencing a different culture. Those same kinds of struggles that, say, an alien would experience here on Earth, the same kinds of ones we experience here when experiencing something new. So seeing how this plays out over the length of a story, these are really important stories to tell and important stories to hear because they connect to us. So one of the ways, if you're developing these characters, right? One of the first things you want to do as a writer is to get down the essential information for your character or characters. And you do that by creating kind of a dossier on them. So your dossier is going to include things like, their race, whether they're completely human or maybe partially human or mechanized in some way. All of those components about this character need to be a part of this dossier. Some other things in the dossier would include, obviously, height, weight. If his race is there, that's an issue. If there's a gender attributed, that's important. If whatever, maybe their zodiac sign. A lot of these things you would put in there. And what you're doing is you're developing a file. Now, on the onset, right, let's say you're developing this character, but you have hired an artist to do maybe a concept drawing. Every dossier should have some kind of visual of what this character looks like, and that's really important for your artist as well, because they want to make sure that they are visually creating what you have envisioned in your mind and how you imagine this character to be. Most of these, though, are going to be physical features. So one of the characters in my books, Dr. Dream, is Sora Tengoku, who is really described as Japanese American. He has dark hair and eyes. He's about age 35, 6'2", and he dresses in a business casual way. Now, I included more description in there than I needed, but I'm going to put up for you what the artist came up with for this character. So as you can see, this is what my artist came up with based on the description I gave you. Of course, there's a lot more information here as well. And so most of that's for me, but the first part with his race, his age, and how tall he is, those are important bits of information for my artist. So that was just one example of a character dossier. These again are important for both you as a writer as well as the artist to again get the concept of the character and what they look like as part of the visual storytelling narrative that you're going to be producing. And don't stop at the dossier, or don't stop at just that single frame dossier, just that moment there. Keep developing, right? How you want to do this is you simply want to go through various scenarios in your head as to what this character would do under certain situations. If they're faced with a crisis, right? Do they try to solve it themselves? Do they try to phone the authorities, or do they run away? If even those that are not necessarily life-threatening, right? What if they were at a Chinese restaurant and the order came out and it was wrong? Right? What would they do? Would they, again, argue? Would they politely ask? Those kinds of scenarios you can kind of go through your mind, right? If they're utilizing public transit, if they're suddenly warped into a different time period, what would they do? All of these kinds of scenarios you can play through your head, and as you come up with them, right? Don't keep them in your head. Add them to that dossier, add them to that file or that binder that you're creating, hopefully, with this character. The more you know about the character in your own mind and actually put that down on paper, the easier it is going to be to write more stories about this character. And hopefully, if you develop a good enough story, you're going to create a long-lasting, sustainable fan base. And again, putting your character into different situations and doing a lot of this on the front end is going to make for better character development. And it's gonna really make the character come alive for you, and it's gonna be a lot easier to write scripts. So that's all for this video. Check out some of our other Scattered Comics videos on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you soon for the next segment in this series.
Thank you everybody for watching our video. Please check out these other cool videos you see on your screen. You can help Scattered Comics and its creators by going to the description below and purchasing any of our cool stuff. Give our video a like and don't forget to subscribe.